The moment I stepped through the front door, three things happened in perfect succession. The music dipped just enough for my voice to be heard. Her wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered. And silence, raw, immediate silence, spread like spilled gasoline across the room. Everyone turned. And there she was, Jocelyn, standing by the fireplace, wearing the dress she told me didn't fit anymore, locked in a gaze with a man whose hand was still resting on her waist. She blinked once. Just once. Then didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. I didn't cause a scene, not yet. I walked through the crowd like I'd been invited. The hardwood floor creaked under my boots, and for a second, I felt like even the walls were watching. Then I said it. Not to her. Not to him. But to everyone. Just thought I'd return what she left behind. I held up a small velvet box. Inside? Her wedding ring. Mine was already in my pocket. Someone gasped. I heard it. Real, audible gasp. The guy, her guy, had the nerve to smirk. You must be the husband, he said. Bit dramatic, don't you think? I smiled back. Calm. Controlled. But inside, I was cracking open. Oh, I'm not here to win her back, I said. I'm here to watch her try to explain. Because what none of them knew, not yet, was that the projector in the next room was already playing. And everyone in that party was about to learn exactly what kind of team-building retreats Jocelyn had been attending. The truth was no longer mine to hide. And she was about to wish the door had stayed shut. I didn't plan to go that far. Honestly, I didn't plan anything at all. But sometimes, when the person you trust most slices your ribs open with a smile, something in you snaps, not loud or messy, just final. Jocelyn was still standing there when the projector started humming in the next room. Some guests drifted toward the sound, murmuring, curious. I stayed right where I was, in the center of the polished floor, while her lover, still unnamed, still smug, adjusted the collar on his pressed shirt like he was posing for a photo. She didn't move, didn't speak. Her hands trembled at her sides, but her lips stayed shut. Go on, I told her softly. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me, like I was the problem here. But then came the first image. Loud, clear, larger than life. A still frame from a hotel security camera. Her, him. A hallway kiss that turned into something more graphic than I ever wanted to see. It froze the laughter right out of every throat in that house. Someone dropped their drink. It splashed against the wall. Still, no one spoke. I didn't look at the screen. I'd already seen it. I'd seen everything. You see, what Jocelyn didn't know is that 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the front desk of a downtown hotel. They thought I had left my wallet there. Only problem? I hadn't been there. Ever. But her loyalty card had been tied to my name, and the receptionist, thinking she was helping a confused husband, emailed me the security report. That was the first time I saw her with him. Not just standing close. Not just flirting. But pulling him into a room registered under our joint account. They'd used my name to cheat on me. So I started digging. Not obsessively, deliberately. Quietly. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to expose. Back at the party, the second video clip began playing. This one had audio. Jocelyn's voice. Laughing. Whispering things into her lover's ear. Things she used to say to me when we were first married. Only now, she said them like a joke. My husband still thinks I'm mentoring interns at these conferences. Poor man. Can't see a lie even when it's sleeping in his bed. A woman in the corner of the party muttered, "Oh my God." Jocelyn finally moved. She reached for the remote. I got there first. I didn't touch her. Didn't raise my voice. I just stepped between her and the truth. You told me I was boring, I said, keeping my voice low. That I didn't understand you anymore. But you forgot something, Jocelyn. Boring men watch. We notice. We remember. Her lover didn't look so smug anymore. In fact, he'd started inching away from her like she had caught fire. I didn't know you were married, he said under his breath. You did, I replied. You just didn't care. And with that, I clicked the projector off. The damage was done. The party was ruined. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. Because in my jacket pocket, tucked behind my phone, was one last envelope. And inside that envelope was something she had no idea I'd found. Something that would tear down every lie she thought she'd locked away. The night wasn't over. It was just beginning. When I reached into my coat pocket and slowly pulled out the envelope, I could feel the oxygen in the room vanish like a pulled curtain. Every pair of eyes that wasn't already locked on Jocelyn flicked to my hand. The white paper looked harmless. Innocent. like something you'd find slipped under your door at a hotel. But Jocelyn knew better. She saw it and took a full step back, like it was ticking. This is pathetic, she muttered, her voice cracking for the first time. You made your point, Elwood. You embarrassed me. In front of everyone. You can leave now. But I didn't. I looked around, not at her, but at the faces that had just watched her cheat in 1080p. Some of them were friends of hers, colleagues, a few people I'd never seen in my life. But they were all witnesses now. That part mattered. They had to see the rest. Otherwise, she'd spin it later. Tell them I edited the video, claim I was abusive, say I was controlling, whatever lie worked best. I couldn't let her write the final version of the story. So I opened the envelope. Inside was a printout. 4 pages, stapled neatly, highlighted in pink. I held it up like a menu at a bad restaurant. This, I said, is the real reason Jocelyn has been so stressed about our finances. Not inflation. Not car repairs. Not student loans. It's a private lease contract. One she signed 2 months ago for a 1-bedroom apartment downtown. Under her maiden name. Jocelyn's hands went to her face. Elwood, stop. I raised my voice for the first time. Just once. Just enough. She listed her marital status as single. That was when the noise started again. Whispers. The guests weren't just uncomfortable anymore. Now they were disgusted. I heard someone mutter, "Yikes." Another person walked toward the door without even grabbing their jacket. And guess what else? I continued. She used our joint checking account as proof of income. So congratulations, everyone. We all just attended a party funded by the idiot husband who unknowingly paid for his wife's new love nest. Jocelyn lunged forward, trying to snatch the papers from my hand. I stepped back. Nope. You'll get your copy. Don't worry. In fact, I made 10. One for your lawyer, too. Unless you plan to represent yourself, like you did when you lied to mine. That last part landed like a slap. She blinked, processing. She hadn't expected me to already file. Yes, I'd gone to a lawyer. Quietly. A week ago. I hadn't planned to serve her yet. I thought I'd be the one shattered, the one dragging myself through grief for weeks. But when I saw the security footage and read that lease agreement in full, something in me hardened. I realized that Jocelyn didn't just betray me. She replaced me. Softly. Deliberately. With smiles and secrets and a plan. Now it was her turn to stumble through denial. Her lover, now visibly uncomfortable, turned to her. You told me he was out of the picture, he hissed. You said he didn't matter anymore. Jocelyn's face turned bloodless. She looked around, probably for someone to defend her. But no one did. People were moving away from her like she was radioactive. I didn't stay long after that. I placed the envelope down on the appetizer table beside a tray of untouched shrimp skewers. Then I walked out the front door, slow, steady, like a man not running, not hiding, but reclaiming each step. Outside, the cold air hit me like clarity. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just stood there on the driveway, staring at the stars for a moment longer than I should have. The same stars she once told me were ours. And then my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. I saw what you did tonight. Meet me tomorrow. There's more you need to know. My heart, which had finally started to settle, picked up again. There was more? And I had no idea that the biggest twist hadn't even happened yet. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I laid on the couch, not our bed, never again our bed, with a blanket I hadn't washed in weeks and one of the dogs curled up next to me, snoring like none of it mattered. I stared at the ceiling for hours, playing back the party on a loop, the broken wine glass, Jocelyn's frozen face, the quiet horror in the room. But the only thing I couldn't stop hearing was that last buzz from my phone. I saw what you did tonight. Meet me tomorrow. There's more you need to know. It had no name, no signature, just an address, a diner 2 towns over, out on Route 42. A place I hadn't been in over a decade. Back when Jocelyn and I used to go on weekend drives with no destination in mind. I almost laughed when I recognized the name. Maggie's. Real original. I stared at the message until sunrise. I could have blocked it, could have ignored it, but something in my gut kept twisting. Why would someone who saw the party wait until after to reach out? Who were they? What did they think I still didn't know? By 10 a.m., I was already in the car. The roads were quiet, which gave me too much time to think. What if this was Jocelyn's friend trying to guilt me? What if it was a trap to get me to apologize, or worse, hear her out? But I couldn't let it go. Not when every part of my life had already been split open. If someone had more nails to hammer into this coffin, I wanted to know exactly where they planned to hit. The diner was empty except for a waitress who looked like she'd been working there since it opened. I took a booth in the far corner and ordered black coffee just to have something to hold. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Just when I started to think I'd been punked, someone slid into the seat across from me. She was maybe in her mid-30s. Sharp jacket, business casual, no makeup, no smile. She placed her phone face down on the table like we were already in the middle of something important. "You don't know me," she said quickly. "But I know who your wife is. And I know who he is." I stayed silent. Just nodded once. She leaned in, lowered her voice. "My name's Callista. And the man your wife's been seeing? His name isn't Brett, or Brandon, or whatever lie he told you. His real name is Vincent Dorrance. And I used to work for him. Until he wrecked my life." I felt my stomach clench. "Go on," I said. She pulled out a folder. Thin, but too thick for comfort. Inside were photos, emails, screenshots, contracts, text messages. And beneath all of it, a resignation letter, hers, that had the words "filed under duress" scribbled in pen across the bottom. "He targets married women," she said, flipping through the pages like a lawyer in court. "Specifically ones with access to company funds or leverageable social networks. I know 3 women who lost everything after getting involved with him. 2 of them filed for bankruptcy. One ended up in court because he used her company card for some crypto scam. He finds women on the edge, lonely, professionally stuck, emotionally unmoored, and convinces them he's the escape hatch." I couldn't breathe properly. My ears rang. "Are you saying he grooms them?" "No," she said firmly. "He uses them. And when he's done, he ghosts. Or worse, sets them up to take the fall. Your wife? She's just the next chapter. Unless someone stops him." I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend Jocelyn, even now. But I couldn't. Because deep down I knew. I'd seen it in her eyes every time she came back from those retreats. That false confidence. That sneaky smile like she was holding a lottery ticket no one else knew she'd bought. "Why are you telling me this?" I finally asked. Callista's expression softened, just slightly. "Because you humiliated him last night. No one's ever done that. And because I spent 2 years trying to warn women like your wife, and no one listened. Maybe you will." She pushed the folder toward me. "He doesn't just ruin marriages, Elwood. He ruins lives. And I think your wife's about to be next." I sat there, staring at the evidence. Not just of betrayal, but of something worse, that I wasn't just cheated on. I'd been used as a pawn in someone else's twisted game. And Jocelyn had no clue who she was really lying down with. But now I had a choice. Walk away and let her destroy herself, or pull one final string and expose everything before it was too late. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something that wasn't grief. I felt power. I left the diner with the folder clutched so tight in my hand the edges left marks on my fingers. The sky outside had turned that kind of overcast gray that makes everything feel colder than it is, and my truck's engine stuttered a little when I turned the key. But I didn't care. I didn't even drive home. I just pulled into a hardware store parking lot and sat there, flipping through every page again, this time slower, letting each piece of Jocelyn's new life stab me one more time. She wasn't just cheating. She was being manipulated. Or maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't care. Maybe I was the only idiot who ever thought love was supposed to mean something beyond convenience. The thing that stuck out most in the file Callista gave me wasn't the bank withdrawals or hotel receipts or the cheap gifts charged to our shared credit card. It was an NDA, a real one, with Vincent's signature on it and Jocelyn's initials at the bottom of each page. A non-disclosure agreement tied to a marketing firm that didn't seem to exist. I searched the name. No website. No LinkedIn page. No business registry. It was a shell. A front. Something he used to funnel money or worse. And Jocelyn. She signed up like it was just another career opportunity. Now I had a decision to make. Sit on the information and walk away, or throw the match and watch them both burn. It only took me 20 minutes to decide. I drove straight to a local print shop and made 20 copies of the full folder. I didn't care how much it cost. I stuffed them each into manila envelopes and wrote 2 names on every one, Jocelyn Albright and Vincent Dorrance. Then I mailed them, one to every board member at her company, one to HR, one to her direct boss, and a final copy addressed directly to Jocelyn. That wasn't the trap, though. That was just the wake-up alarm. The trap was personal. See, Jocelyn had this habit. She loved to feel in control. Even when she lied, she needed to believe she was the smartest one in the room. She once told me, during a dumb argument years ago, "I don't lie to hurt you. I lie to protect how you see me." That line always stuck with me. It meant she didn't fear the consequences. She feared exposure. So I figured if I could build something that let her think she was still ahead, just long enough for her to trip, I could end this on my terms. That's when I remembered our shared digital calendar. We hadn't used it much lately, but she'd never deleted the invite access. Probably forgot. And just like that, I created a new event. One she'd definitely see. Labeled Meeting. Vincent, location change, private residence, 7 p.m. No address. No explanation. Just bait. Then I called Callista. "I need your help with one more thing," I said. "You said you wanted to stop him?" "I think we can." By 6:45 that night, everything was in place. The house we used belonged to Callista's cousin, a place she hadn't visited in over a year. We set up one camera in the hallway, one in the living room, and left the front door unlocked. I stayed hidden in the garage, waiting, nerves crawling all over me like fire ants. At exactly 6:59 p.m., headlights pulled into the driveway. A black sedan. Jocelyn's. She walked up the porch with her phone in hand, heels clicking, coat drawn tight. I couldn't see her face, but I could hear her. She was calling someone. "I don't know why he changed the location," she said. "No, he didn't say anything weird. Maybe it's just some private thing. Shouldn't be long." Then she stepped inside. And the first thing she saw was a man sitting on the couch with a folder in his lap. Not Vincent. Me. She stopped dead. "Elwood." Her voice cracked like a dropped mirror. I stood slowly and pointed at the camera light blinking red behind her. "You're being recorded. Don't lie. Don't scream. Don't pretend this is something it's not. Just sit down." She didn't move. I said, "Sit." And for the first time since this nightmare began, Jocelyn obeyed without a word. She had no idea what I was about to say, no idea what else I knew, and definitely no idea what I had planned for Vincent. But she would, because this wasn't revenge. This was the truth finally laid bare. She sat down slowly, hesitantly, as if unsure whether the couch beneath her would hold. Her legs were tense, pressed together too tightly, and she clutched her purse like it was a parachute. The Jocelyn I knew, confident, dismissive, always a few words ahead of you, was nowhere to be seen. In her place was someone cornered, someone scared. It was the first time in years she didn't look like the one in control, and I wasn't sure whether to feel satisfaction or disgust. I stood across from her, folder still in my hand, trying to keep my breathing steady. Every word I'd rehearsed had gone cloudy the moment she stepped in. And for a second, just a second, I wondered if I should stop this. Not out of mercy, but out of exhaustion. I was tired of playing chess with someone who never played fair to begin with. But then I remembered Callista's face. And the hotel receipts. In the NDA. I dropped the folder on the table between us. The sound echoed in the empty house. "You know what that is?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. "It's everything you tried to keep hidden. Everything he used you for. Every dollar, every signature, every lie. Your new life, laid out in black and white. And now it's not just between you and me. Copies went to your office, your manager, your board of directors. By now, someone's probably wondering why their rising star was secretly tied to a fraud shell company operated by a man with 4 different last names." Her lips parted slightly. You mailed." "Yes. You can't." "I already did." She stood up, face flushed now, voice climbing out of that fake calm she always used when she didn't have a better weapon. "You don't understand what you've done, Elwood. You think you're some kind of hero? Vincent, he's not just some guy. He has connections. He told me he could help me out of that rut. He said you deserved better." I cut in, voice low. "That you were too smart, too valuable to be stuck with a handyman husband who didn't understand ambition. Right?" She blinked hard, clearly trying to keep tears from forming. But I wasn't moved. "Not anymore." "Did he tell you about Callista?" I asked. She shook her head slowly. "The woman who worked for him before you. He used her too. Almost destroyed her career. Drained her savings. You're not the first. You're not even the second. You're just next." Jocelyn swallowed hard and finally sat down again. This time she didn't say a word. "You thought he loved you?" I continued. "You thought he was going to start a life with you after this?" "Jocelyn, he already started a new file on a girl 2 floors above your office. She gets the same kind of text you did, same hotel. Different lies, same goal. Why are you doing this?" She whispered. Her voice cracked like her throat was made of glass. Because I wanted to see if you'd tell the truth when you weren't surrounded by people to lie to. She looked away. And you didn't. Not once. There was a pause, long, sickening silence where we both just sat in the weight of it all. The truth. The mess. The irreversible wreckage of everything we built and broke. Then she asked something I wasn't expecting. What happens now? I leaned forward. That depends on you. You can let this implode like all the others, or you can face the fallout. Own it. Come clean to your team before the firm cuts ties. File a complaint against Vincent while you still have a sliver of leverage. Or do nothing and watch it all fall apart anyway. You think they'll believe me now? No, I said honestly. But that's not the point anymore. She stared at the table like she wanted to disappear into it. There's something else, I added, reaching into my jacket. One last thing. She looked up, cautiously. I slid a flash drive across the table. There's more on him than you know. He's done this to women in 3 states. Callista's gathered it all. Emails, bank trails, audio. This is your only bargaining chip left. Use it. Or don't. I really don't care anymore. She reached out slowly, took it with 2 fingers, and nodded, barely. I'll figure something out, she said, her voice barely audible. No, you won't. Not alone. Not this time. You wanted independence? You've got it. And everything that comes with it. I stood and headed toward the door. Elwood, she called softly. I stopped but didn't turn around. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I finally looked back at her. You always do, Jocelyn. You just don't think anyone's ever going to call your bluff. And with that, I stepped outside into the cold again. The wind didn't feel quite so sharp this time. The sky had started to clear, just barely, and the house behind me, filled with her silence, faded into something I wouldn't need to return to. But this wasn't the end. Because someone else was still out there. And Vincent Dorrance had no idea I wasn't finished yet. I didn't go home. I didn't even think about going home. Instead, I drove. I kept driving, turning down side roads and empty back routes until I ran out of excuses to stall. The flash drive she'd taken was only a piece of the puzzle. The other pieces were still out there, tangled in the smirking confidence of a man who destroyed more than just marriages. Vincent Dorrance, or whatever name he was using this week, wasn't just a cheating husband's worst nightmare. He was a professional. The kind of manipulator who learned how to weaponize charm and kept his lies ironed and ready to wear. But here's the thing about men like him. They're never as smart as they think they are. They leave fingerprints in their arrogance. They assume no one's looking, especially not the quiet guy in the background, the one they think has already lost. I hadn't lost. Not yet. Thanks to Callista's contacts, I got a burner number for a woman in Baltimore. She'd gone through something eerily similar. Private photos leaked. Her job lost. Her apartment emptied after Vincent ghosted. She tried to sue, but nothing stuck. He'd left just early enough to avoid accountability. Still, she'd kept her records. Screenshots. Flight confirmations. Hotel receipts. Messages from burner numbers that matched some Callista had seen. And one email address that showed up in both cases. So I sent a message. Simple. Direct. No emotion. Subject. We need to talk. Before this gets worse. Message. I have what you think doesn't exist. I'm not Jocelyn. I'm the man she lied to. Let's meet. Public place. Tonight. I didn't expect a response. Certainly not that quickly. But 30 minutes later, a reply hit my inbox. Hollow Bridge Diner. 8 o'clock. Don't bring anyone. He didn't sign his name. He didn't need to. I knew what he was doing. He wanted control. Still thought this was a game he could win. Still thought I was just some betrayed fool clinging to the last rope. I showed up early. Sat in the far booth. Ordered nothing. Watched every person who walked in. And then at 8:07 p.m., he arrived. Vincent wasn't what I expected. Not flashy. Not loud. He wore a plain navy coat, black jeans, no jewelry. His beard was trimmed too carefully. His posture calculated. But his eyes gave it away, too relaxed. Too rehearsed. This wasn't a man caught off guard. This was a man who had done this dozens of times and still believed he was untouchable. He slid into the booth across from me, nodded once like we were 2 friends catching up, and folded his hands. You look tired, he said. Rough week? I didn't answer. I opened my bag and set the original file on the table. He didn't even glance at it. I'm sure you think this is some big win, he went on. But let me save you the trouble. I've seen guys like you. You burn out fast. You want closure. You want someone to cry and say they're sorry. That's not me. I didn't ask for an apology, I said. I came to tell you this is over. He smirked. That's so. I've already filed reports. Fraud, misrepresentation, tax evasion. Several women you ghosted are part of a new complaint. You're not just a cheater, Vincent. You're a con artist. And they've started connecting dots. He finally looked at the folder, picked it up, flipped through a couple pages like he was scanning a takeout menu. You really think this is going to hold up? He asked. You think your wife's testimony means anything when she signed every page willingly? She didn't know what she was signing. She didn't care what she was signing. There's a difference. He leaned in, his voice lowering. She came to me. You want to paint me as the villain, but I didn't chase her. I never do. I just opened the door. If they walk through it, that's their choice. You're angry because you realized she was already looking for the exit long before I showed up. He said it so calmly, so confidently. And that's when I understood something vital. This man didn't feel guilt, not even a flicker. He believed, deep down, that women were disposable, that husbands like me were weak. That betrayal was a byproduct of boredom, and he was simply there to offer clarity. I smiled. Vincent, I said softly, you're not special. You're just old tactics in new clothes. He didn't like that. His jaw twitched just enough to show the crack. I know what you're trying to do, he said. You want to scare me, but I'll be gone by Monday. The firm Jocelyn worked for? Already burned. I'll move on. Like always. You think this ends with some justice speech? No, I said, standing up. I think it ends when someone like you finally has nowhere left to run. I turned to walk out. And just before I reached the door, I tossed one last thing on the counter. An envelope addressed to Detective Ray Hollins, the officer Callista had been working with since she found out what Vincent really was. Vincent grabbed it too late. And for the first time since I'd seen him, the smug grin dropped. Because even men like him, deep down, know when the walls are finally starting to close in. It took 3 weeks. Not all at once. Not in a grand finale or explosive courtroom drama like in the movies. But little by little, inch by inch, the truth did what truth always does. It outlived the lies. The day the first official call came from Detective Hollins, I was back at my house, no longer our house. I'd filed the paperwork to have her name taken off everything. Utilities, deed, joint account. Gone. I'd replaced the locks, canceled the old insurance policies, and finally sat down on the porch with a cup of coffee that actually tasted like peace. Hollins kept it simple. You did the right thing bringing this forward, he said. We're looking into 3 states now. You're not alone in this, Elwood. That part hit me harder than I expected. I'd spent months, years, maybe feeling like a ghost in my own life. Like the furniture was more visible than I was. But suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was a name in a file, a man people listened to. A man whose pain had turned into evidence, whose story was helping build something bigger than revenge, something that actually mattered. As for Jocelyn, she tried to save face, of course. Issued a brief, health-related resignation from her company, deleted her social media, and even emailed me one of those. I hope someday you can forgive me paragraphs that read like it had been written by a PR intern. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Word got around. Her friends, the ones who had pretended not to notice, began distancing themselves. Some of them even reached out to me. Apologies. Quiet messages. A few said they had suspicions, but didn't want to get involved. I didn't blame them. People like Jocelyn are masters at making the truth feel like gossip, and their lies sound like compassion. Vincent? He ran. Changed numbers. Shut down the fake companies. But he didn't disappear fast enough. The Baltimore woman finally filed a class action suit with 3 others. Callista helped. I sent in everything I had. As of the last update I got from Hollins, federal agents were looking into financial fraud tied to multiple shell corporations. Nothing guaranteed. But finally, he wasn't untouchable anymore. But that's not the part one want to end this on. The part that matters is this. I'm okay. Better than okay. A month after the dust settled, I adopted another dog, ridiculous little mutt with crooked ears and a bark that sounds like he's yelling at the clouds. I repainted the kitchen. Bought a couch that didn't have 16 years of disappointment sunken into the cushions. I even started going to this local community class about woodworking, something I'd always wanted to try but never had the right time for. Funny how many things you make room for when you stop carrying someone else's lies. The other night, I ran into Callista at a small fundraiser. She looked healthier, lighter. We talked for almost 2 hours over bad coffee and warm cider. She laughed more than I'd ever seen her laugh before. I told her about the dog. She told me she'd been offered a job consulting for a women's advocacy group that deals with professional manipulation and emotional fraud cases. Right before we parted ways, she said, "You know, most guys just scream into the void and move on. You actually did something." And for once, I believed her. So yeah, that's the end of it. Or maybe it's the beginning. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I'm not broken. I'm not a joke. I'm not some background character in my own story. I was the man who saw the truth, who stood up, and who walked away, not because I was weak, but because I finally knew I deserved better. And now, for the first time in years, I have peace.